What's going on, Faded Culture? Today we're gonna be going over how to debulk properly and how to use clipper over comb properly. So let's get right into it. Yeah, I'm stuck. I don't even know where to start. As a matter of fact, I gotta watch a tutorial on how to debulk. So yeah, somebody in our school platform requested how do we go about properly using clipper over comb. So we're gonna go ahead and share a few techniques on that. And then I'm also gonna show the importance of debulking, especially when a client comes in with hair like this. Jesus Christ. So let me go ahead and just start my debulking process. I'm gonna go ahead, he already mentioned that he wants a bald mid-fade, so I'm gonna go ahead and debulk with my number 3 guard first up into the parietal ridge. That's basically gonna be the highest guard that I'm gonna use, and then from there we're gonna go ahead and come in and clipper over comb to help connect the sides to the top. So you're gonna see, even with debulking, I'm not trying to create a harsh line, I'm more so just cleaning up the surface so I can come in and set my initial guidelines in as clean as possible. A big problem that people run into when they first start cutting hair is they'll get somebody like this come in to their chair, come into the shop, and then they assume that you could set in a guideline with length like this. And technically you can, but look how messy it is. You can't really see. There's too much overhang. It's very messy to work that way. So we're gonna go ahead and debulk. So like I mentioned here, I'm with my 3 guard lever open, up into that parietal ridge. Slightly dropping it towards the back and then flaring out from the occipital bone. So the few extra minutes that it takes to debulk, it's gonna save you in the long run when trying to come in, instead of trying to come in and setting in those guidelines and just working that much harder. So just go ahead and do yourself a favor and debulk. What I like to reference when it comes down to debulking is I like to get the hair to a certain length where it looks like he just got a haircut anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks ago versus 2 to 3 years ago. Jeez. You gotta rate my jokes, dog, since I'm doing stand-up. But you can easily see, even this 3 guard is starting to get a little messy. There is a lot of overhang. All right, now we're gonna come in to continue still the debulking process. Again, I haven't even began my guidelines for my fade. I'm gonna go ahead and clipper over comb all this length right here that's sitting on the parietal and in the back and the occipital. So one thing with clipper over comb is you always wanna use a comb that's contrast to the hair. So for instance, his hair is dark, I'm gonna use a white comb. All right, so I think the biggest mistake that beginners do with clipper over comb is they'll come in, they'll see all this length, and then they'll just lay this against the scalp. I personally don't like to do that. You're gonna end up cutting way too much off, first of all. I like to take chunks off at a time, so I'll come in. You can see that I'm anchoring myself with my hand right here. Using my finger, I'll come in, and then I'll start to remove some of that length. And always, every time you cut some, you wanna get a hang of you doing this motion. You're gonna go ahead, cut some, comb it. Cut some, comb it. Just so we know and we can see how exactly the hair is starting to lay. So again, starting with the very top of it. And the more you'll do it, the less you'll have to rely on anchoring yourself, but use the anchor as your beginning point. What you could also do is use a guard on the actual clipper to, take off less and use it as a safety net, basically. So this is my angle of attack. And even when I'm cutting off the very top, it's still this. I'm coming straight up and out of that parietal. I'm not digging in. If you start doing this angle, you start giving them more of that faux hawk look. So again, just starting with that top length, coming down, anchoring myself with my finger if I feel like I have to. Just be wary of that angle of the comb. And it's gonna be the same thing even back here, coming straight up and out from the occipital bone. So again, we groom the hair, and then we come in, start from the very top, and then start working our way down. And I only really use clipper over comb after my 3 guard. I've noticed some people mention in our comments or in our haircuts that they like the way we compress fades. And I think a lot of it is because of that, because I do fade up into a 3 guard and then I'll clipper over comb anything after. Notice there's a lot of barbers who, they'll start clipper over combing anything after a 1 guard or a 2 guard. I feel like that doesn't leave enough length or weight in order for you to get that contrast and make the fade look compressed. So because the occipital does curve out in this way, so if I were to lay the comb, the occipital does naturally curve out. That's the exact motion that I'm imitating with my comb. Again, straight up and out from that parietal, starting at the very top, working my way down. Grooming it and repeating. Just like anything else in our process, take your time with this. Just because it is part of the debulking doesn't mean I have to rush this. The better you can set up the canvas, the better your fade will turn out. And because I knew exactly how high up to take my number 3 guard, which is to that parietal, and again, following the occipital, I'm not gonna have to come in and clipper over comb when I set in my guidelines. Something that I've noticed, here since we opened the academy, is I'll see the students come in, they'll start debulking, but what they end up doing is they start debulking a little too low. Notice I brought my number 3 up here, just like I naturally would if you would have came in after a week or 2 after a haircut. I would still bring it up here when I'm putting in my fade. That's exactly where I put it in the beginning. From there, I just finish connecting. What happens is a lot of the times, they'll put that 3 too low. You end up removing all the length here, which is still too low. And as you're setting in your first guideline, by the time you have to come in and set in your second guideline, you basically have to come in and debulk again. Don't worry about that too much. With time, you'll find the reference of how high up to take that number 3 or 4 guard, whatever you feel comfortable with. But the point is to just start getting in there and getting some reps in. Again, I give you some reference points. Use your pinky to anchor yourself. Use a guard if you need to. But other than that, I think you should start getting in there and getting your reps in. That's pretty much it for clipper over comb. So yeah, now let's just continue that debulking process. What I like to do now that I did the number 3 guard, I feel like this is still not short enough for me to come in with my no guard lever closed. So I'll come in again with my 1.5 guard lever fully open. This is a perfect length for me to set in my initial guide, which is no guard lever close. Just like I did with the number 3, following that occipital. All right, but there you guys have it. Again, the reference here is to try to get your client down to look like he just got a haircut 2-3 weeks ago versus a few months. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. I gave you some pointers and some mental notes when you start clipper over combing. So let me know how this video helps. Hope y'all enjoyed it.